Shalom. Last week I gave you some tips for Leila Seder. Before the shiur, today we're going to learn the question of the Rasha. But before the shiur, we have to realize that the evening of Leila Seder is the night of the children. And what we make to make sure they are awake, we let them ask questions. Always question. Why question? In Masechet Sanhedrin, it says, Yodea nagen bechinor v'gibor hayil. He's talking about somebody who knows how to play on the violin, and he is a very strong soldier. Talking about David HaMelech. He said, what is Yodea nagen? Know to play the violin, to play on the, the instrument, is the somebody who knows how to ask questions. What is a strong soldier? Is the one who knows how to answer the question. So the Gemara asks, what is the connection between melody, singing, and questions? I said, what is the common denominator between the two? The answer is beautiful. The answer is, when you compose a melody to a song, you must be thinker. You must think and be aware what you are doing. You cannot be sleepy and compose a melody. Okay? The same thing about question. When you ask question, you must think before you ask the question. There is no way you can ask question and not to think. So question must be a consequence of thinking. Nachon?
Yes.
On the other side, answer could be sometimes stupid answer. Why? Because when you give an answer, sometimes you don't even think what you say. Okay? Because you don't think, you might say something that nonsense. But question, you have to be alert, you have to be awake, you have to think. Now, in this night, Leila said that why we have the children to ask questions, we ought to be, the redemption. We are talking the night of the redemption. We have to be up. We have to be awake. We cannot be sleepy. What we doing? Asking questions. Because question is the formula to be awake. And that's the reason that we are asking questions. Now, I would like to go to show you, to remind you, if you remember, I told you the author of the Haggadah, we don't know who is the author of the Haggadah. We call him Baal Haggadah. Baal Haggadah is an unknown person. We don't know. We have few books like this.
How you call it?
Baal Haggadah, the owner of the Haggadah.
Baal.
Baal, like a husband. Like, Yosef Sofer is the Baal. Baal Shel Renee. Okay?
Thank
So,
you. I didn't hear. Okay, thank you.
בסדר. So Baal Haggadah, the author of the Haggadah. So Baal Haggadah, he took quote from the Torah, and you will see the difference, the answer, and he put the title, Hacham, Rasha, Tam, She'eno Yoda Lishol. The four sons we're talking about, the Torah doesn't say this is the Rasha, this is the Hacham. The Baal Haggadah, he is the one that put the title. Not only this, he is the one that give answer that doesn't even written in the Torah. You know why he gave different answer? Because he's trying to give us a lesson to today. If we're talking about Haggadah, is many, many years ago he composed. That means more than 1,000 years. Why I'm saying more than 1,000 years? Because Rambam is talking about the Haggadah. And Rambam was 1,000 years ago. So it was much before Rambam. So we're talking about many, many years ago that you will see it's so relevant to today. It is amazing. So perfect to today. So now let's see that, if you remember, last week we spoke about Shabbat HaGadol and Shabbat HaChodesh before this, Shabbat before Pesach, and we are talking about the Korban Pesach and etc., etc. And that's about 20 psukim that we wrote about Korban Pesach, and right after the 20 psukim, here is Pasuk Kaf Aleph. Listen, Vayikra Moshe lechol ziknei Yisrael, Vayomer alehem. Moshe called the elders of the Jewish people, and he said to them, משכו וקחו לכם צאן, draw yourself, למשוך is to draw, and take a sheep למשפחותיכם, to your families, ושחטו הפסח, and you make קורבן פסח, שחטו הפסח. That's the קורבן פסח. I want you to just to tell you what Rashi says. Do you remember I asked you, who believed that the sheep is God? Who believed?
The Egyptian.
You forgot one more nation.
The
The Jews as well.
yes.
Keep in mind, remember, that's why Hashem said to them, he said to them, why Hashem said the sheep and slaughter the sheep? Because you have to show me that you do not believe in the sheep. I cannot redeem you if you think the sheep is God. How could you prove to me that you don't believe in the sheep? Kill it. Shot. Slaughter. Say, mishchu, draw yourself from avodah zarah. And קחו לכם צאן and take the sheep and make the שחיטה. And now, ולקחתם אגודת אזוב וטבלתם בדם. And you take, the blood. And where you put the blood, you remember where you put the blood?
The door.
Where in the door?
On the side.
Sides?
On the top.
Top. Remember, okay. Why I'm asking you, look at the word. כ"ב. משקוף ואל שתי המזוזות. משקוף, we have the post doors, right? We have the post doors and we have the top. That's the top called in Hebrew mashkof. Okay? And the two poles to the side called mezuzot. By the way, today, when he said mezuzah, is not really the mezuzah. The mezuzah is the post doors. It's not the mezuzah. You know what is the mezuzah? The mezuzah is a cloth. Why we call it mezuzah? We put the cloth on the mezuzah. But remember, the word mezuzah is the post doors. Okay, is it clear? So now my question to you, where did they put the blood? On the post door and the top of the door. From inside the house or outside to the street?
Inside.
Why inside? So the movie Ten Commandments is wrong. Because really when we grew up and we saw pictures, even sometimes in Haggadah Shel Pesach, we have pictures and we see blood to the street. Why? Because it said the angel saw the blood and he passed over the Jewish houses. But Rashi says, Chas v'shalom, Omer v'haya adam lachem leot. The blood should be to you as a sign. That's why, Martha, you're right. You put the blood inside because the blood is not for the angel, it's for us. To see that not only the sheep did not kill us, Hashem saved us because of this. So it's really for us, not for the angel. The angel doesn't need blood to know which house is Jewish house. After we did the blood, כ"ד, ושמרתם את הדבר הזה, you should guard and protect. You should guard הדבר הזה. What is דבר הזה? How you translate the word דבר הזה? This thing. What is this thing? What is דבר הזה? You know what is דבר הזה? קורבן פסח. You should guard and make the קורבן פסח לחוק לך ולבניך עד עולם. This קורבן פסח is not only for today, it's forever. If tomorrow, בעזרת Hashem, we have בית המקדש, so now, you know that Friday, this year Friday is 14th of Nisan, so Friday, each one of us will be in Yerushalayim to make Korban Pesach. That's Korban Pesach. He said, this mitzvah is not a temporary, is not short time goal, is forever. Now, כ"ה, והיה כי תבואו אל הארץ. When the time will come and you will come to the land, to Eretz Yisrael, כן? אשר ייתן אדוני לכם כאשר דיבר. When Hashem will give you the land as he spoke, as he promised. ושמרתם את העבודה הזאת. What is ושמרתם את העבודה הזאת? You should, in Eretz Yisrael, you should continue with this worshiping God, with this korban. In Eretz Yisrael. Do you remember what the question of the Rasha?
What is this thing you are doing?
But do you remember the words of the question? Oh, you didn't put the words in order, but that's right. Ruth, what say again the mishpat? מה העבודה הזאת לכם? מה העבודה הזאת לכם? That's שאלת הרשע, נכון? The author of the Haggadah took it from here. You see? ושמרתם את העבודה הזאת. So he, the Rasha, see העבודה הזאת, the Korban Pesach, he asked, מה העבודה הזאת לכם? What do you need to do this Korban Pesach? Who needs it? Okay? That's a question of the Rasha. So the author of the Haggadah, remember, he took the question from here, from this text. והיה, now look at פסוק ו' והיה כי יאמרו עליכם בניכם, when your children, you know what is יאמרו? What is יאמרו?
They told you. They will say.
Say and not ask. You see? מה העבודה הזאת לכם? Who asked the question מה העבודה הזאת לכם? The Rasha. But you see, the Rasha doesn't ask question. He didn't say, how do you say question in Hebrew?
שאלה.
שאלה. So what it should be, והיה כי ישאלו ביניכם. כי ישאל. But it says כי יאמרו עליכם ביניכם. They will tell you. They make it as a fact. He doesn't expect even to get an answer. He wants us to stop and not to make Korban Pesach. Mamash against the Torah. Because just now in Pasuk of Dalet, we says, Ad Olam, it should be forever. And now we said, Vayaki tavo el haaretz, when you come to the land, you should continue to bring Korban Pesach. And the Rasha in Pasuk Gavav says, what do you need it? Ma avodah zot lachem. You know why he's Rasha? You know why he's Rasha? Listen, can you translate the word ma avodah zot lachem?
What is this word for you?
To you and what? How do you know which word show him that he's Rasha?
That is
Lachem. He said to you. He didn't say, what he should say? Lanu, to us. So what he did with himself? He excluded himself from Am Israel.
Yes.
So that's why he's Rasha. He doesn't see even himself as part of Eretz Yisrael. ואמרתם זבח פסח הוא לאדוני, אשר פסח על בתי בני ישראל במצרים, בנוקפו את מצרים ואת בתינו הציל. The Torah giving us completely different answer than the Baal Haggadah. He said, you should tell him that we have Korban Pesach, that to remember that Hashem passed over the Jewish house. When he really hit the firstborn of the Egyptian, he's kept and he passed over our house. And look what the conclusion, vayikod ha'am vayishtahavu. And the nations bowed down. He said, from all the four sons who got the word, vayikod ha'am vayishtahavu, they bowed down, dafka with the Rasha. Dafka the Rasha got a beautiful conclusion. And the nation came and bowed down. So, Ha'emek Davar HaNatziv, when he said, Ushmartem, you should guard the mitzvah, he said, Klal Ma'aseh Pesach. He didn't say, this is not only Korban Pesach, that's everything we do in Pesach. Because that means when we should keep the rules, the halachot of Pesach, is not only Korban Pesach, it's the entire Pesach. ועבדת את העבודה הזאת בחודש הזה. Everything I'm giving you now, it's forever. Rashi immediately noticed that they bowed down. He said, why to bow down? To bow down what? So he said, we have good news here. Remember here? Look, Kafhei. והיה כי תבואו אל הארץ. It's good news or bad news?
Good news.
At הארץ. We're going to Israel. והיה כי תבואו אל הארץ. So Rashi immediately said, על בשורת הגאולה. By the way, today, even though right now I'm talking to you from Israel and you are in Panama, today we're still in Galut. Why still in Galut? As long as you are in Panama, we are in Galut. It doesn't matter the fact that I'm here. I want all the Jews to be in Israel. That's when he said, Vayaki tavo el haaretz, mean all the Jews will come to Eretz Yisrael. When all the Jews will come to Eretz Yisrael, that's the full redemption. That's Besorat HaGeula. So now he said, Bi'at haaretz, to come to Israel. And another good news, Besorat HaBanim, V'yomru b'niim, you'll have children. So what do you have here? Look, it's beautiful here. Rashi says, remember when Hashem promised to Abraham, he promised to him two things. Do you remember what he blessed him with? Two things. What are the two things that Hashem promised to Abraham? Do you remember?
Children, and to be like the stars.
Mom, what did you say it again? What?
Am Israel and the children, the generations, more generations like the standing.
Nachon. So he said, Am Israel, Zera, the offspring, Banim, and Eretz Yisrael. And what we have here, Vayaki tavo el haaretz b'nechem. He's talking about Eretz Yisrael and the children, the two brachot. So Rashi said that's a very good news. Because of this, it says Vayikod ha'am vayishtachavu. The nation bowed down because of the Besorat HaGeula, because the two promises, the Avtahat haaretz, the promise of the land, the Avtahat HaZerah, and the promise of the offspring, it fulfilled right here. But all these things, Davka with the story of the Rasha. I mean, I would see it better if it will be with the Hacham, but he put it together with the Rasha. Today we'll see why. Okay, look, this is the Torah. This is the, what I quote here is the Torah, is not the Haggadah. We'll go from here to the Haggadah. He said, Vayaki shalcha bincha mahar. What is, he said, when it comes, your son will ask you, when? Tomorrow. Mahar. Nachon? תודה. ויקי שלך בנך מחר לאמור. מה העדות והחוקים והמשפטים אשר ציווה אדוני אלוהינו אתכם? Listen to the question, help me with the translation. מה העדות והחוקים? What all the constitution, the testimony, the mitzvot, the משפטים, אשר ציווה אדוני אלוהינו אתכם, that Hashem, our God, commanded you. You know what he want? The question here? The question here, this guy, we don't know yet which son is this. He said, I want you to teach me all the mitzvot in the Torah. How many mitzvot we have?
613.
So this son, he wants to know everything, the entire Torah. Is good or not?
It's good.
It's good. You know which son is this?
The good one.
Hacham. You know, a Hacham, Baal Haggadah took this statement, this question, and he fit into the Hacham. Why? Because the Hacham wants to know the entire Torah, not only Pesach. He's not asking about Pesach, he's not asking about Korban Pesach. He said, I want to know from Bereshit to Dvarim. I want to know the entire Torah. Okay? So he's Hacham. But there is a question here. You know what? Do you remember why the Rasha is Rasha? Do you remember which word he showed that he is Rasha?
Lahem.
Lachem. What is Lachem? What is Lachem?
For you.
You. And what you should say if he is not Rasha? Lanu. Very good. But look what the Hacham said. If you put Hacham, what the last word? What is the last word?
Etchem.
Etchem. What is Etchem? You. He also exclude himself. You understand? He said, if you say the Rasha, because of the word Lachem, he exclude himself and he's Rasha. The Hacham also exclude himself. He said Etchem. How do you say Etchem is you? Nachon? How do you say us?
Itanu.
Otanu. So what he should say, if he's such a Hacham and he's part of Am Israel, he should say, Asher tziva Adonai Eloheinu Otanu. So what the difference? Can you see the sentence? Can somebody tell me the difference between the Rasha and the Hacham?
One one.
Martha, I have cappuccino here. What?
He's asking for the whole Torah. The other one is only asking for the Korban Pesach.
But how do you know that this guy is not Rasha? After all, if we compare apple to apple, both of them excluded themselves. Nachon?
Yes.
But I want you to pay attention. What is the word before etchem?
Hashem. Hashem.
No, between Hashem and etchem.
Elokeinu.
Elokeinu. What is Elokeinu? Elokeinu, our God.
שלנו.
So Shelanu, Kulanu. So the Hakam, he is first of all put himself part of the Am Israel. He said, he didn't say Hashem, how do you say your God?
אלוהיך.
Elokechem. Elokechem. But he didn't say Hashem, if he would be Rasha, he would say Asher Tziva Hashem Elokechem etchem. But he didn't say Hashem Elokechem. He said Hashem Elokeinu. I am part of you. I just want you to teach me the Torah. So, but the Rasha did not put the word us. Bichlal. He excluded himself. He said, Ba'avodah azot lachem. If he would put before lachem something that he included himself in Am Israel, he would not be Rasha as well. But the Rasha excluded himself completely. The Hacham, first of all, I'm part of you. Where he said, I'm part of you, Elohenu. And then he said, Etchem, I want you to teach me what the mitzvot. That's why he's Hacham. And then, he said, V'amarta levincha avadim hayinu. So now, how do you know Hacham? Listen here. He's asking a specific question or general question?
General.
Very general. Do you remember what Rasha asking? He's asking general or specific?
Specific.
Yeah, what he's asking about what? Korban Pesach.
והעבודה.
Avodah. What Avodah? Korban Pesach. He's very specific to Korban Pesach. But Hacham is very general. He wants to know everything. And באמת the answer of the Haggadah, מעבדים היינו. Until after the Afikoman is built the answer to the Hacham. Did you know that? All the Haggadah, the Magid, everything we do is the answer for the Hacham. Ad we said En maftirin ahara Pesach Afikoman. So because the Hacham wants to know, said okay, you want to know Avadim hayinu leFaro b'Mitzrayim, etc., etc., etc. So now so we did Hacham and Rasha. Who we skip?
Tam.
Tam.
And the one who doesn't know how to ask.
Oh, okay, good, Martha. Now let's go to the Tam. Let's leave the She'eno Yoda Lishol last but not least. He says, look, what is the question of the Tam? You know what's his question? 2 words. Remember, Rasha, Ken, 4 words. What are the 4 words? מה העבודה הזאת לכם. נכון? 4 מילים. Now the Hacham had much more. מה העדות והחוקים והמשפטים אשר ציווה אדוני אלוהינו אתכם. נכון? What the question of the Tam? Do you know how many words? 2 words. Look at Pasuk Yudalet. I put it big in yellow and red.
מה זאת?
That's it. Mazot. What is Mazot?
What is this?
So now what you ask? What do you ask about what? About what he's talking? What the Tam is talking about? Mazot. And what? And what he's talking about?
On everything. What's going on?
On everything? Zot is very singular.
The Korban.
Korban is a Rasha. He's asking about the Korban. So do you mean the Tam asking the same question? No. I tell you what, this is something, Rabotai, my dear friends, we have to know and emphasize this in Leila Seder. I said, Renee, are you here? Renee, I don't hear you. First, in a minute, you will see why I'm saying, huh?
She's driving.
Okay, listen to this. Why I'm asking? It's something happened in Panama that we don't see it very often. Okay? עברת כל פטר רחם לאדוני וכל פטר שגר בהמה אשר יהיה לך זכרים וכל פטר חמור תפדה בשה. You know, you should redeem the firstborn of the donkey with the sheep. נכון? ואם לא תפדה, when you say why I said Panama, do you remember you had פדיון חמור?
Yes.
you had פדיון, they said פטר חמור. כן? שהשם ישמור עליו. Do you remember the father of Yosef, יעקב, כן? יעקב סופר. כן? יעקב סופר, when he told me the story about the Peter Hamor, I couldn't believe it's true. And said that, you know, thousands of people come to see Peter Hamor. But if you don't redeem the Hamor, you know what you should do to the Hamor?
You have to kill him.
What you have?
You have to kill him.
How you kill it? You take a machine gun and shoot?
You have to hit the neck.
Who is talking now?
Renee.
Renee, you are here. Okay, I didn't hear you.
I'm driving. I could not hold the cellular phone.
Okay, good. Now you remember when you know your father-in-law told me the story. Now, when you said kill it where specific point?
In the neck.
In the neck. You know how we call it in Hebrew? In Hebrew, look at the Pasuk Yud Gimel. V'im lo tifdeh, if you do not redeem the Hamor, ve'arafto, arifat Hamor. It's called arifah. You break the neck of the donkey. Tell me now, is this something usual? This is not normal.
No, not normal.
Not normal. So the Tam see it, he said, Mazot! Mazot! What's going on? So, you know, to motivate the Tam is a very simple boy. I have to show him something very weird, very strange, to motivate him to ask questions. So now he also, the Tam, he's not asking about Pesach. He's not asking about Korban Pesach. He's asking about Arifat Hamor. He said, מה זאת? ואמרת אליו, בחוזק יד הוציאנו אדוני ממצרים מבית עבדים. Hashem took us with a strong arm out of Mitzrayim. That's the Torah. But he said, remember, so we have the Rasha, the question of the Rasha, מה העבודה הזאת לכם? We have the question of the Hacham, מה העדות והחוקים והמשפטים אשר ציווה אדוני אלוהינו אתכם? And we have the שאלה of the Tam. But the שאלה of the Tam, מה זאת?
But Rabbi, how do you know he's asking about the donkey?
What? I'm sorry?
How do you know he's asking about the donkey?
Oh, that's why we have to learn. That's why we have Torah Sheba'al Peh. Okay, but look here, even without Torah Sheba'al Peh. Listen. Who asked the question? Who asked? Alicia?
Martha.
Martha. You asked the question?
Yes, I was wondering also that.
Okay, look at Yud Gimel. Look at Pasuk Yud Gimel. V'chol peter hamor tivde b'seh. Right? You should redeem the hamor with the sheep. V'im lo tivde, and if you do not redeem, v'arafto, you make arifah. V'chol bechor adam bevanecha tivde, and every firstborn, you make pidyon haben. Nachon? Now what the next Pasuk Yudalet? V'aya ki shelcha bincha mahar lemor, and if your son will ask you tomorrow, ma zot? On what? On Pasuk Yud Gimel. Because Pasuk Yud Gimel talking about Arifat Hamor.
Yes,
So-
you know, this is the question of the simple one on the Agada.
What?
But then how do you know this is the same question as the simple one in the Agada?
Oh, that's Baal Agada. He taking of this. I told you, the Baal Agada take it from the Torah Shebichtav, and he put completely different answer. But in the Torah Shebichtav, Dafka, it's very clear that they said the question of the son. Vayaki shalcha mahar lemor. Mahar. What is mahar? One day after Arifat Hamor, and mahar could be in the future. If you teach your son today about Arifat Hamor, okay? Or when you took the Hamor in Panama and you put him over there and make a Pidyon Hamor, what all the kids, what they ask? What did they ask?
Mazot.
Mazot! Exactly! Mazot! This is very strange. So here also is pasuk after pasuk. If it's come Mazot right after Arifat Hamor, of course he's talking about Arifat Hamor. There is no question about it. Okay, so now my question to you, so we know the three sons. We know the Rasha, we know the Hakam, we know the Tam. How many words the question of She'eno Yodea Lishol? How many words?
0.
Martha, good. Martha, I tried to give you, to put you in the trap. You said you have 0. Why? He doesn't know how to ask question. Okay? He's not asking question. Let's go now to Arba'at Abanim. Baruch HaMakom. Baruch Hu. What is Makom?
Hashem,
Hashem. Very good. Why we call him Makom?
because Hashem is everywhere.
Nachon?
Makom.
Now, where Hashem find? He is in the world or the world inside Hashem? Hashem is in the world or the world is inside Hashem? So remember,
Is in the world.
don't make mistake and said, Hashem is in the world. Hashem is not in the world. Hashem is much larger than the world. The world is 1 point, 1 dot. So the Hashem, Hashem gave a place, a room to the world to be inside Him. Hashem is much, much, much larger. So we say, HaMakom, Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Hu. Hashem is blessed. Why we bless Him? Baruch Shenatan Torah L'Amo Yisrael. Hashem gave the Torah to Am Yisrael. Baruch Hu. Look how many times He said Baruch. 3 times. 4 times, I'm sorry. Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shenatan, Baruch Hu. 4 times He said. The number 4 in the Haggadah is a very powerful number. Right next to the bracha to Hashem, we said, Keneged Arba'a Banim Dibra Torah. The Torah was talking about 4 sons. Ehad Hacham, Ehad Rasha, Ehad Tam, Ehad She'eno Yodea Lishol. One is wise, one is the wicked, one is the simple, and one who doesn't know how to ask questions. Now, my question to you, why the Baal Haggadah put the 4 sons right next to the Torah? You understand my question? Why the Baal Haggadah, he first said Baruch Hashem that we have Torah, and right after he put Baruch Hashem we have Torah, he gave us the Torah, he's talking about the 4 sons. The 4 sons are really in the Haggadah right next to it. You see it? On paragraph 7. That's Haggadah Shel Pesach. You have any idea why?
Maybe because
the
the
Torah
Torah has all the answer of the 4 sons.
Because there are 4 times of Yehudim.
Tell me, the Torah belonged to whom? To a yeshiva bahur that's studying 16 hours a day? What? I don't want you to think by mistake that Torah is a private property. If you are even Talmid Hacham Gadol and you think 1 minute, the Torah is your private property and doesn't belong to, let's say, non-religious people, okay, you make a big mistake. The Torah belongs to the 4 sons. Ehad Hacham, Ehad Rasha, Ehad Tam, Ehad She'eno Yodea Lishol. Before I continue, question. How many sons we said?
4.
4, okay. Do you remember what I told you previous years? I don't remember if I said, but I think I did. When we see the Haggadah with the pictures, right? How the Hacham looks like? Very handsome rabbi, nachon? Very attractive rabbi. How the Rasha looks in the pictures? Very ugly guy. Okay? And then etc. etc. When the kids see the Hacham, when we see the Hacham, when we say, Hacham is me, or my father, or my uncle. Okay? When you see the Rasha, I say, that's not me, that's my neighbor. It's not me, it's him. And he said, Tam She'eno Yodea Lishol, that's between. But I tell you, the Hidush is, Rabotai, is not 4 sons. You know how many sons we have? 1.
One that one that doesn't come.
What? Do you remember, Martha? The one, each one of us has inside him part of the Hacham, part of the Rasha, part of the Tam, and part She'eno Yodea Lishon. So don't put the finger on your neighbor. You have to put the finger on ourselves. You know all what we have to pray? We have to pray to Hashem that 95% that I will be Hacham. And the other 5% I will divide between the Rasha and Tam She'eno Yodea Lishon. But really, all the 4 sons is one son. Let me prove it to you. Okay? How do you say first, second, third, fourth in Hebrew?
אחד, שתיים,
אחד, שני, שלוש.
I didn't say 1, 2, 3, 4. I said Rishon, first, second, third, fourth.
ראשון, שני, שלישי, רביעי.
And now the Baal Agada didn't say Rishon, Sheni, Shlishi, Revi'i. Look what he said the numbers. Ehad, 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 Ehad. That's first hint. We're talking about one son. Okay? Now help me with the Gematria. How much is Ehad in Gematria? Aleph 1, Het is 8, Dalet is 4. How much is 1, 8, and 4?
13.
13. And how many 13 we have here? Ehad, 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 4. How much is 4 times 13?
52.
52. Do you know how to say? You know how to say son in Hebrew?
Ben.
Ben. You know how much is Ben? 52.
52.
52. He said, you know. Also, by the way, Eliyahu is also 52. So he said now from now on, don't put the finger on somebody else. You know, when usually we put finger. Said, you know, when you put your finger to your neighbor, you have 4 fingers to yourself. So he said, no, don't look. I have to fix the Rasha that inside me. I have to fix the Tam, and I have to fix the She'eno Yodea Lishon. Okay, the Hacham is Hacham. But remember, one more thing I want you to pay attention. The Baal Agada didn't put symmetria. What is symmetria? When you have the opposite. What is the opposite of Hacham?
Rasha.
Rasha. No. Opposite of Hacham is not Rasha.
It's the dumb one.
Tam.
No. Take the word wise. What is the opposite of wise?
Dumb.
Why is it, no,
Opposite of smart man.
מטומטם.
Tipesh. Tipesh.
מטומטם.
Tipesh, metumtam. So he said tipesh. The opposite of Hacham, it should be Ehad Hacham ve'Ehad Tipesh. But he didn't say that Rasha is not the antithesis of the Hacham. Rasha could be smarter than the Hacham. He might be have very high IQ. He's not Tipesh, he's Rasha. And now let's take the other side. What the opposite of Rasha?
Oh.
טוב.
No, the opposite of Rasha.
טוב.
Tzadik.
No, what?
צדיק.
Tzaddik. Opposite of Rasha is Tzaddik, but you see here, it doesn't say Ahad Tzaddik ve'Ahad Rasha. You see, the Baal Agada didn't put the symmetria. The opposite of the Hacham is Tipesh. And the opposite of Rasha is what? Is Tzaddik. There is no Tzaddik and no Tipesh. So what is the message of Baal Agada? Just be patient, okay? And we'll give the answer. I'm continuing. So Baal Agada says, החכם מה הוא אומר, כן? מה העדות והחוקים והמשפטים אשר ציווה אדוני אלוהינו אתכם, ואף אתה אמור לו כי הלכות הפסח הן מפטירין אחר הפסח אפיקומן. I told you, you would give them the entire Agada, and you tell him that, you know, you have to give him from עבדים היינו all the way until אפיקומן. רשע מה הוא אומר, מה העבודה הזאת לכם? He said, what is this? Remember קורבן פסח. He said, לכם ולא לו. He said to you and not to himself. ולפי שהוציא את עצמו מן הכלל, because he excluded himself from the כלל, כפר בעיקר. רבותיי, follow the word of בעל הגדה. You know what is כפר בעיקר? כפר בעיקר, he said, חס ושלום, there is no God. Why there is no God? What has to do? Because Am Yisrael and Hashem is 2 entities or one?
One.
Is one entity. So if you exclude yourself from Am Yisrael, You exclude yourself from whom? From God.
From God.
That means you're not part of God, you are kofar. What you do if you have your neighbor, you Jewish person, and he's like this? What you do to him? You know, in Panama, you know very well that we are all in buildings, and every buildings you have 30, 20, 40 floors. Nachon? When we go, we have elevator of Shabbat and we have regular elevator. Nachon? So so there are some people, Beshomer Shabbat, they don't use the elevator, and some people don't. And some people also doing other things on Shabbat. So when you see your neighbor is really not Shomer Shabbat, not only not Shomer Shabbat, Mehalel Shabbat befarhesia, means he publicly doing, Hilul Shabbat, and not only in modest way, publicly, purposely, to tease you. That's a Rasha. You know what he's telling you? מה העבודה הזאת לכם? Why do you need Shabbat? It's better to be like the Goyim, that they don't have Shabbat. So what he's doing by this statement, he excludes himself from Am Yisrael. But I know if you weren't born a Jew, how you die? A Jew. So what is my obligation to him?
To bring him back.
Oh, he says, V'af ata. No, look, Baal HaGadah says, Af ata. What is ata?
You.
You. Who is you?
Now.
Who is you?
Us.
Huh? Who is you out of the four sons? You know who is you?
All of us.
No, but who is you? HaHacham. HaHacham. The message of the Rasha is to the Hacham. Because he said, your job, Hakhet Shinaim. Shinaim, we all know what is Shinaim. What is Shinaim? Shinaim, teeth.
Peace.
So some people say, Hakhet Shinaim, break his teeth. He did not say break his teeth. He said, Hakhet Shinaim, weaken his teeth. You know why he said? Because the people, if a Jewish person has the guts to make Hilul Shabbat befarhesia publicly and purposely, means he hates the Torah. He's anti-Torah. And here I might get confused, because on one side I want to break his teeth. But the Baal HaGadah said, don't break his teeth. All what you have to do, weaken his teeth. Take the sharpen, the hatred, in another word, out of his teeth. He's so anti, all what you have to do is to calm him down. How I do it? Can you give me an idea? How do I do it? If your neighbor, he's doing everything in purpose. On Friday night, he put the stereo very high, and he put everything very high. He make parties on Shabbat, Dafka, and everything Dafka Lachis. And he make a party in the lounge room, in the cafeteria downstairs on Shabbat. What you do with this neighbor?
Bring him to your Shabbat.
What you do?
You bring him and show him the Shabbat.
How you do it?
You bring him to your house.
How? How you do it? You said, are you invited?
Yes.
He said, no, I don't want. I tell you, you're right, by the way. The bottom line, you're right. But the message is, listen to this. Do you remember 2 months ago, we learned about the fire on the altar? Do you remember how often the fire should be on the altar?
Always.
Good, Martha. What? Tamid. Tamid. Now, do you remember who brings the fire?
Kohanim.
Huh?
Kohanim.
HaKohanim, no.
Kohen Gadol.
Kol ha'am. Okay, now I would like to remind you, look how good it is to study Torah. First of all, Hashem said, I'll bring the fire. The fire coming up, down. But I want you also to bring your own fire. So now what you ask today, if Hashem bring fire to the altar, why do I need to bring my own fire? What is my fire compared to the fire of God? My fire of compared to the God, the ash, is nothing. Is batal b'shishim. No, Hashem said no. I want you to bring your own fire, 24/7. You know what? How do you say fire in Hebrew?
Ish.
You know as ash. Do you know Shir Hashirim? On Pesach, by the way, we, the Sfaradim and some of the Ashkenazim too, and the Temanim, we say Shir Hashirim every Friday. But which holiday we do really Shir Hashirim in the house?
Pesach.
Pesach. You know what said? You know in Pesach, you know what we have said? The ash. You know how I call the ash in Pesach in Shir Hashirim? מים רבים לא יוכלו לכבות את אש האהבה. This fire is the fire of love. So Martha, before, when you said you invite him, when you invite him, you mean it or not?
Yes.
If you mean it, can he feel it?
Yes.
Absolutely. If words coming from your heart is going to the heart. You know what you do to the neighbor when the moment you send him the fire of love? You know what happened to him? This moment, you know what happened to him? He's not anti anymore. I'm not saying he ba'al tshuva, but he's not anti. You weaken his teeth. You took the hatred out of him. He said, my gosh, I'm trying to tease my neighbor. I'm trying to drive crazy Martha. And I'm trying to drive crazy, this. And instead of cursing me and screaming at me and say I am Rasha, she invited me to her house. It's amazing. So now this moment, immediately at least the Rasha is not, it doesn't hate me anymore. But now to make him, but what is my goal? What is my goal to do with him? What is the purpose? Why you invite him?
Bring him a little sugar.
What I want him to do? What I want to make to him? What I want to do? What I want to do to him? To make him what?
The sugar.
To make him interest in Rambam.
What you said before, keruv, nachon? I want to make keruv. So what I want now is Rasha. What is the opposite of Rasha?
Tzadik.
Tzadik. So what is my destination? To make him Tzadik. How? Now, tell me now. Now, I said, now, he said, Baruch Hashem, he came to my house. He drank coffee. He enjoyed the food and everything. But he's not Baal Tshuva yet. Now I said, oh my God. Now tell me the truth. I'm talking to you now because you are in Panama community and it looks like many other communities. But I'm talking to you now to Panama community, but we know that we have many people like this. Not many, but you saw people are not in order to tease you, but they publicly, they Halal Shabbat, publicly they doing this. And your wish, I'm sure that no one cursing or something like this. Or when I was in Panama, all what I pray, Refuah Shlema Hashem, please bring back, make Baal Tshuva this guy, this Jewish person. That's what you have to do. Invite him, give him love. But now tell me, to make somebody like this Baal Tshuva, to make something, it's easy or hard?
Very hard.
Very, extremely hard. Who can help me? Hashem can help me. Now you see, Hashem said, you did your own fire. Now I'm going to bring my own fire to help you. You know what? What you did, let's say, how do you say anti in Hebrew? Anti, you say anti, but you say lo. Lo. Lo rotze Torah. Lo rotze Shabbat. Lo. He was a big lo. Now, by inviting you to your house, you know what you did with the law? You deleted the law. There is no more law, but it's still not Baal Tshuva. You know what Hashem is telling us now? I will help you. I'll bring my own fire and I will change the law. What is the opposite of law? Can. I will help you to make the law can. And that's, he said, Va'afata. The message of the Rasha is really to give the Esh Ahava, to make Keruv. So if you did your job, you really invite him, you did the best to make Keruv. Let's say even you are a woman, you cannot give him Shi'ur in Torah. Maybe you could. Maybe you are too embarrassed to give Shi'ur in Torah. Not only this, you don't want to put him under pressure. Let's say I said, okay, but you did your ishtadlut. You try very hard. And said, I'll bring them my own fire. At least what you did with the law, you erased the law. You deleted law. Now to make the law can, I will bring my own fire and help you to make the law can. And then he will be Baal Tshuva. Then, now tell me, Baal Tshuva, what the title of Baal Tshuva? Tzadik or Rasha? Tzadik or Rasha? To remind you, he's even more than a Tzadik. מקום שבעלי תשובה עומדים, צדיקים גמורים אינם עומדים. He's such a Tzadik now. Now, he said, that's the purpose. But he said, you bring your own fire. My dear friends, I want you to know, this is not Dvar Torah what I'm telling you. This is real life. Emet. Only way to help our brothers to make tshuva is Esh Ahava. Ahavat Hinam. Ahavat Hinam. If you bring Ahavat Hinam, Hashem will help you to make him Baal Tshuva. Now you want to hear something very, very, very nice? This is something very amazing. He said, if we said the word Rasha, remember, so we said, now we make him Tzadik. Do you know, help me with the Gematria. How much is Rasha? I'll help you. Resh is 200, Shin is 300, and Ain is 70. So how much is together? 570. Now, do you know how much is Shinav? Shin, he said, Akeh Shinav. Shin 300, Ken? 300, 50, 60, 56. 356. You know how much is 570 minus 356 is 204. You know what is 204? Tzaddik. So he said, listen, Rasha minus Shinav equal Tzaddik. You understand? So this is amazing gematria. Say Rasha minus Shinav. So he said, remember, if you see a Rasha, and if Hashem wants to kill him, he would kill him in darkness in Egypt. Remember how many people got killed in Makat HaChoshech? 80% of the Jewish people. 80%. The people did not want to be redeemed. If Hashem, the Hacham said, if you are here, that means you are part of Am Yisrael. I have to help you. Do not exclude yourself from Am Yisrael. Now, if the Rasha is really like this, I want to understand why he's doing what he's doing. To explain this, do you remember when the Rasha asked his question, Ma avodah azot lachem? Do you remember when? He asked this question in the desert when we went out of Egypt.
In Egypt, the Korban Pesach in Egypt.
No, I'm going backward to show you the pasuk, to remember. Here is the pasuk. Look, pasuk kafei. What location he asked the question? Vehaya. So where is he asking the question? In Eretz Yisrael. In the Midbar, it didn't bother him. You know when bother him Korban Pesach? Korban Pesach bothered the Rasha Davka in Eretz Yisrael. Now what is the logic behind the Rasha? Is the Rasha, he love Am Yisrael or he doesn't like Am Yisrael? I want you to know the Rasha loves Eretz Yisrael. He has only one mistake. You know what he think? He think the mitzvot is good for where? You know for where? For the Galut. Only for you, for the Panamanian and New York. And so, you know why it's good? Why it's important for you? You know why it's important? Because if you do not do mitzvot, how do you know you are a Jew? It's to distinguish between us and the Goyim. But he said in Eretz Yisrael, who is in Eretz Yisrael? All Jews. We don't need anymore. He said, מה העבודה הזאת לכם פה בארץ ישראל? In the Galut, it was very important to send my son to the Jewish day school, to yeshiva. Because how do you distinguish yourself from the goy? From the goy is the halacha, is the Shabbat, is the Korban Pesach, is everything. But he said Korban Pesach is good. Let's be civilized. It's for him. It's really barbarian. It's primitive. It's good for the Galut, not for Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, my dear friend Rasha said to us, look, tell me, in Israel, do we have museum? Many museum. We have Yad Vashem, we have Museum HaSefer, we have Museum, so many museum. Do we have football in Israel? Yes. Do we have soccer? Yes. We have basketball? Yes. We just like Europe. So we are civilized. We don't need the Torah anymore. So now he doesn't say it, he say it because he doesn't like Eretz Yisrael, Am Yisrael. He say it because he doesn't understand that what makes you Jewish, what makes so special Jewish in Eretz Yisrael, what connect me to Eretz Yisrael? What is the glue? What is the cling between us and Eretz Yisrael? You know what? Torah. If not the Torah, who said Eretz Yisrael belong to you? So now, you see, the Rasha is a kibbutznik. He is somebody that thinks that he is very smart. He thinks he's very smart. He thinks that you don't need mitzvot to be part of Eretz Yisrael. You don't need mitzvot to be part of Am Yisrael. So who is the job to show him that Eretz Yisrael and Am Yisrael believe without Torah Yisrael, it's impossible. You know who is this job? You, the Hacham. All what you have to understand, you have to understand that Eretz Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Torah Yisrael is one unit, is one. He just doesn't understand it. That's why our job is to teach him, not to break his teeth, to weaken his teeth. And how we do it? By Esh Ahava. That's why I said, that's really the secret with the Rasha. Now, any question until now? Now, after we understand, about this mistake of the Rasha, and what a big job we have, but really remember, if you do it from your heart, you do it from your heart, Hashem will help you. You bring your own fire, and Hashem will bring His fire. Together is a really win-win. Look what I put here above 13. העבודה הזאת, מה העבודה הזאת? דווקא בארץ, דווקא בארץ ישראל. So remember, the Rasha never asked his question 40 years in the wilderness. He never asked question in the Galut. But in Eretz Yisrael, he thought, by the way, do you know what happened in Eretz Yisrael in 1948, before 1940, when the people came from the Galut? You know what some of the Israeli government tried to do? I'll tell you, my parents came from Yemen in 1934, many, many years ago, before the establishment of Israel. But and they had married to be part of the underground and to fight against the British. But many Yemenite, I'm giving you the Yemenite because there is a big story about the Yemenite Jewish children. It said, when they came, you know what the first thing that the government tried to do? Every Jewish Yemenite, you know what he has here? You know what he has here? Peot. You know what they did to the Yemenite Jewish children? Cut off their peot. And you know where they put him? They put them in the kibbutzim. not religious kibbutz. You don't need the Torah in Teman, in Yemen is good. And you know what else? They took many Jewish children. I'm telling you, honestly, this is the truth. You can open Google and put Jewish Yemenite children, what happened to them. They sold the babies, sold Jewish children for rich people in England and Europe to adopt them. And then they told the mother, your son dead, he died yesterday. When many parents asked them, I want to see the grave, they could not even the grave. By the way, until today, there is investigation, big investigation, to show who is the criminal, who should pay for this. But I want you to know that, these people who believed, that they really cut off the peot and put them in kibbutzim. I'm not talking about kidnapping, that's murdering. But he said about this, they thought you don't need anymore the peot. The peot is is good for the galut, to distinguish between Jewish person and a goy. But in Israel, you don't need the peot. He said, you understand? Rabotai, we have it today. We have it today. So he said, that's why the author of the Haggadah, even though he was many, many years ago, we have to understand when we see somebody with a beard, somebody with a peot, we have to appreciate to see, this is a Jew. That's the way. I'll tell you one very, very short story about Sfat Emet. Remember, I love to give Sfat Emet. Sfat Emet lost his father when he was 8 years old. His grandfather, Chidushei Harim, Rabbeinu Yitzchak Meir, he adopted, his grandson, and that's why he became big scholar. He taught him, he taught him Torah. And then Rabbi Mikotsk was the rabbi of the Saba. He was the big Rav. So he was mamash dying. He didn't look good. He took the boy, Sfat Emet, and he wanted him to show him Rabbi Mikotsk. His Talmidim asked Bar Harim, Rabbeinu Yitzchak Meir, why you take the boy to see Rabbi Mikotsk? He doesn't look good. He looks scary. You know what he answered to them? He said, I wanted my son to see how a Jew look like.
Wow.
You understand? This is a very powerful answer. I want him to see how a Jew, how Yehudi looks like. He said, you look outside. Look how he's old and dying. But I taught my son how to look the light inside the Rabbi Mikotsk. To see the beard, to see the eyes, to see the light, to see the peot, to see this. This is, so my dear friend, I want to know, remember Actualia. So everything is in the Haggadah and Torah is very relevant to today. The other part of the shiur, I have to tell you this very short because time passed by very quick. I think some of you know the story. There is one prophet, his name is Hosea. Hosea, you ever heard about prophet by name Hosea? Hosea ben Be'eri. Not Yehoshua. Yehoshua was a leader after Moshe. We have one prophet, his name is Hosea ben Be'eri. Big time prophet. And Hashem said to him on Pasuk Bet something very strange. He said, Kach lecha eshet znunim. I want you, I'm telling you now the story very quick. I want you to get a prostitute, listen to this, and get married to her, and I want you to have children from her. Shamatem? I thought it's a metaphor. I didn't know this is a true story when I saw it first, many years ago. Vayelech vayikach, and he took one prostitute, top prostitute, her name was Gomer, but Divlaim. He got married to Gomer, and she got pregnant, and she delivered a baby boy, and she named the name boy, Israel. Okay? Zera El, offspring of El. And then he said, because why I want you to name him Israel? Because I'm going to cut off the offspring of Israel. Wow. And then she got pregnant and she got a daughter. Did you ever heard the name Ruhama in Hebrew?
Yes.
Ruhama. Where did the word Ruhama came from? Rahem, Rahmanut, Rahama ze Ahava, is love, mercy. But you know what he said to name the daughter? Lo Ruhama. No mercy. You know why? Because there is no mercy upon the Jewish nation anymore. Wow. The son is cut off this offspring, the daughter, no mercy. And now we have one more boy. Vatigmol, and she delivered a baby boy. And you know what he called him? Lo Ami. What is Ami? My nation. Lo Ami. You're not my nation. Wow. This story, we have to go a little bit deep to see what's behind it. He said to the prophet to take a prostitute and bring Israel, Lo Ruhama, Lo Ami. What's going on? Rabotai, many times...
Sorry, Rabbi, one question. God told him to name them these names, or he decided, the prophet Hosea, to put them these names?
Who decided?
That's my question. Who named them, the prophet or God?
Hashem told him.
Okay.
Hashem told him, he said, what the name? He has now to follow, you will see. And then Perek Bet, the chapter Bet, he said, Hosea, Vayab mispar b'nei Israel, the number of the Jewish nation, Asher lo yimad velo yisafer. By the way, are you allowed to count Jewish people?
No,
Why?
because we are infinite.
Why are you not allowed to count? What?
Netza, Am Israel is Netza.
Because... Ain Hara. You know, I tell you what. Okay, beside Ain Hara, beside that Mahatzit shekel milir. Lo imad, when you count number, number is finite or infinity. Number is finite. So we said, if you said the Jewish people is finite or infinity? Infinity. So now, after this, he said, Mispar b'nei Israel, number like it's finite. But on the other side, he said, Lo yimad velo yisafer, is countless. He contradicts himself. In the beginning of the Pasuk, it says finite. And then the end of the Pasuk, you cannot measure and you cannot count. So we have to understand this contradiction. By the way, from here we learn, from this Pasuk, you're not allowed to count. You know who put number in our arm? Who put numbers in our arm?
The German.
Hitler, Yimach Shmo v'zichro. Why he put numbers? Because he believed very strongly that we are finite. Do you remember the two words of Hitler? His plan? What's the name of the plan of Hitler? Final solution. Finite. He believed, he did not understand that we are infinity. That's why he put numbers. But Hosea, after in Perek Aleph, he did what he did, and Perek Bet, he gave mispar. On one side, it doesn't look good, like we are finite, but the end of the pasuk, we are countless. It sounds good. And look what the name what happened with the name. Asher yamer lahem lo ami atem, yamer lahem beni el hai. There is no more, no my nation. You are my children. Hai. V'nikvetzu bnei Yehuda bnei Israel yahdav. And the Jewish people, Judea and Israel, will be together. And now he said, V'alu min haaretz, and they will come to Israel. Ki gadol yom Yisrael. Remember what he said, the first baby? Israel. Hashem will bring the zera. And remember the sister? What's the name of the sister? Imru la'achechem, tell your brother, Ami. Ve'la'achotechem ruhama. He said, don't say lo Ami. Say Ami, so we have a happy end. Nachon? What we said. Now, let's see what the story. This is amazing. What is the story? In order to see the story, we have to see the Gemara. The Gemara in Masechet Psachim, page 87. If you want to see the Gemara, you can see I put here the source, and he said to him, you know, what happened between Hashem and Hosea? He said, you know what he said? So Hashem said to Hosea, look in here, you see, I don't know if you see my mouse. He said, Banecha hatu, your children have sinned to me. So what good lawyers say to Hashem? If Hashem said to Moshe, your son have sinned to me, what Moshe said?
Forgive them.
Forgive them. You know what Hosea said? והיה לו לומר בניך הם, בני חנוניך, בני אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, גלגל רחמך עליהם. He should say, Hashem expect Hoshea to say, what are you talking? My son, your son, Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, please have a mercy upon them. He did not say it. Listen what the Gemara said. Lo dayo shelo amar kach, not only he did not say it. You know what he said to Hashem? Are you ready? Ribono shel olam. Kol ha'olam shelcha. The entire world belongs to you. Ha'avirem b'uma acheret. Switch. Take another nation.
Wow.
Could you believe, by the way, do you know how the Christianity was established? You know how? What is their claim? They believe that we are the chosen nation. So what happened? Hashem changed his mind. We made the Egel Azav. He switched. So exactly said, Ahavirem b'uma acheret. Wow. Now Hashem is happy or unhappy?
Unhappy.
What's unhappy?
Very unhappy. Do you remember with Noah and Moshe? That we learned with Moshe? Moshe is the tikkun of Noah. You know, remember why Noah did not pray to save the world, and Moshe did the opposite, made the tikkun. Tishmomer. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ma esel zaken ze? What should I do to this old man? Oh, now I'll teach him a lesson. Omar lo lech kach isha zona. Go take a prostitute, and I want you to bring children from her. After he brought 3 children, you know what he said to Hosea? I want you to divorce her. Moshe Rabbeinu did not divorce his wife. When Moshe Rabbeinu got Ruach HaKodesh, he did not have any relation with his wife. He said, Imu, if you want to be like Moshe Rabbeinu, I said, I want you to divorce. You know what Hosea said to Hashem? ויאמר השם אל הושע, קח לך איזה זנונים וילדי זנונים. And he said, look here what he said. ריבונו של עולם, you see here, above the red side. יש לי בנים ממנה. I have children from her. How could I divorce her? Tell me now, if she is prostitute, why Hashem said take prostitute? Did she quit her job? No. She's married woman, but she's still prostitute. Now, when you have a children from prostitute, do you know who is the father?
No.
No. So look what Hashem tell him. Hashem said to him, אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא, look, I put red and big. ומה אתה שאשתך זונה ובניך בני זנונים, ואין אתה יודע אם שלך הן, אם של האחרים הן, כן? אז הוא אומר, you know, your wife, she's prostitute. And you don't even know if the children is yours or belong to somebody else. ואתה אומר לי, and you say to me, I cannot divorce my wife, and you tell me to switch? Israel, the Am Israel שהם בניי, they are my own children. בניי בחוניי, they are the children of Abraham, Yitzhak ויעקב. Do you know how many transactions Hashem did in the world? 4. 4 transactions that Hashem made kinyan. He really, look what he says. אחד מארבעת קניינים שקניתי בעולמי. I bought 4 things. Torah. Number 1, Torah. קניין אחד. הכתיב השם קנני ראשית דרכו. אומר, the first of all, Torah is Hashem had קניין. שמיים וארץ. The heaven and earth. קניין אחד. One more. דכתיב קנה שמיים וארץ. בית המקדש is another קניין. קניין אחד. דכתיב הרי זה קנתה ימינו. ישראל קניין אחד. ישראל is mine. דכתיב עם זו קנית. And now after you telling me האווירם באומה אחרת, you telling me switch. Now tell me now you, how Hosea feels now.
Terrible.
Terrible is a very gentle word. He said, oh my gosh, what did I do? I goofed big time. So look what he did. He put more oil to the fire. You know, look what he did. כיוון שידע שחטא, now he realized that he made a big sin. עמד לבקש רחמים, he said, please have pity on me. Please have mercy upon me. אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא, השם said to him, עד שאתה מבקש רחמים על עצמך, בקש רחמים על ישראל. You know why 3 children? You know why 3 children? There are 3 decrees on Am Israel, גזרות, 3. He said, you asking mercy upon you, you should ask mercy upon whom? Upon Am Israel, not upon you. 3 גזרות, 3 decrees. בקש רחמים ובטל גזרה. You have to ask mercy upon the Jewish nation, not upon you. Wow. Now Hosea understood completely. He said, okay, you know what the tikkun is? The tikkun of Hosea is bracha. What the bracha? Let's go. Remember the first pasuk? He said, והיה מספר בני ישראל כחול הים אשר לא יימד ולא ייספר. So we said מספר is finite. נכון? לא יימד ולא ייספר is countless, is infinity. How you solve the problem? He said, no, now I understand. Listen what bracha. He said, the Jews look like number. They look like we can count them. They look like every other nation, that they are finite. All the other nations are finite, except one, Am Israel. They look like. But you know what the bracha? לא יימד ולא ייספר. No measurement and no counting. Am Israel is everlasting. Am Israel is immortality. Do you remember how we say immortality in Hebrew? Netzach. How do you say? I remember how we say victory in Hebrew? Victory. Victor. What is victor?
Yeshua.
Victor is nitzachon.
Nitzachon.
Nitzachon. Esther Azrak is here?
Yes.
So okay, her husband is Victor. Do you know what the Hebrew name of Victor? Netzach.
Yeshua.
Netzach. It's nitzachon. The word nitzachon, victory. What is nitzachon? We use this word today for sports, etc. But that's just using it. We're borrowing the word. The word nitzachon came from the word netzach. The netzach Israel. So Hosea made a complete tshuva. What?
Netzach means eternity also.
They said, now Baruch Hashem, Israel is a Israel, and Lo Ami is Ami, and Lo Ruhama is Ruhama. It said, and now Am Israel. In book of Yirmiyahu, there is this beautiful question. Listen to the question. Mi ha'ish hacham, give me the wise man, v'yaven zot and understand. Big question. Alma avda haaretz. Why Hashem destroyed the country? Means Bet HaMikdash. Alma. What reason? So we say they have sinat hinam. We say avodah zarah, shfichut damim. Nachon? We said, listen to the answer. Listen to the answer, my dear friends. Vayomer Adonai al ozvam et torati asher natati lahem, because they left the Torah that I gave them. Arba'a banim dibra Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah la'amo Israel. Because they quit. They left. But I have a question for you. The time of Bet HaMikdash, the people left the Torah? Cannot be. Now listen. I want to understand, to explain. I said, Al ozvam et torati lo shamu bekoli. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, you see the last, above number 18, she'en mevarchin b'Torah tehila. Wow. When you study Torah, you do not make bracha. When you make aliyah to the Torah, what you have to do before the aliyah? Bracha. So wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that the Jewish people in Bet HaMikdash went up to aliyah, didn't make bracha? Impossible. Are you telling me that the time of Bet HaMikdash people make Birkot Torah in the morning, every morning? Impossible. But listen what he said. My Rav Tzvi Yehuda, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, he said it beautifully. Do you remember? I don't know if you know or remember. He said, But you know, when they make Hilul Shabbat beFaresa and Yerushalayim, so all the people, not all the people, some of the people took stones, avanim, and they were throwing on the people driving on Shabbat. And you know what they said when they throwing the stones? What did they say? Shabbos, Shabbos, Shabbos. You know, now my question to you: how do you feel about this? If your neighbor drive on Shabbat and you take a stone and you throw in the stone and say Shabbos, Shabbos, is mitzvah or avera?
Avera.
You know what Rav Tzvida says? He says, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. We never understood what he's saying. Why he's saying this? Asher bachar banu, until I got explanation. You know what explanation? What Hashem did first? He chose us as a nation, or He gave us the Torah? He chose us as a nation, first of all, Yehudi. Remember the Rasha? Don't break his teeth. Weaken his teeth. Give him love. He said, Asher bachar banu mikol amim. First of all, Am Yisrael is Am Echad. First of all, to take a stone on Shabbat is a muktzeh. He said, and now he said, could you imagine, Martha, what you said before? Instead of throwing rocks, and I said, Shabbat Shalom Ahi. You know what is Ahi? You know what the word Ahi?
My brother.
My brother. I said to him, Shabbat Shalom Ahi. And he opened the window. I said, don't open the window. Why? You know, I said, don't open the window. Because it's Shabbat. I don't want to make another sin. I said, don't open. I hear you. I said, you know, I invite, you have time? Can you come to my house? You know, for coffee, for lunch, you know. So what I did when I do this, said, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, then natan lanu et Torato. He said, you know, if I give him the Esha Ahava, he might, you know, first of all, to delete the law. Now, maybe he will not be Baal Tshuva, but one thing for sure, he will never drive on Shabbat in a religious neighborhood. Never. I'm sure he will never. He said, no, that makes them upset. I will not do it. I will go higher. There is no question. If I do keruv to him, he might even at the end to be Baal Tshuva. He might be Baal Tshuva. But he said, remember, that's why he said to go to the Rasha. K'et shinav. Remember. And now Agdamav said, you know, I would like to conclude. The question is, you know, the Zohar, when I was principal in the United States, it's more than Panama. That's why I tell you in the United States. I don't know if you know the Jewish family in the United States. But United States, when you are in high school especially, you know how many people go into college after high school?
Everybody.
100%. 100%. You will never find it in different community. But now, the Jews not only want college, they want the Ivy League. And now to get accepted, to be accepted to Ivy League university, like Harvard, Yale, Columbus, you know, Columbia, all this, you know, Princeton, all these college, Ivy League, Princeton, you know, what you have to do, you have to take a test. What test you take?
TOEFL.
TOEFL. You take, you know, you take the test, the SAT, it's called SAT. Okay?
And the TOEFL.
TOEFL is for, no, TOEFL is, let me explain to you. TOEFL is for stranger. TOEFL if you're not American citizen. TOEFL to know if you know the language. That's not TOEFL. But you know, SAT is for now. In my time, you have to say 800 points you can get on sciences and 800 on literature. Okay? That means the top today is a little bit different. So the top is 1600. You know, all my students, what they were talking when they were junior and senior, all what I hear during recess time, SAT. SAT. And one day, I got so sick of this. I said, you know, after Mincha, junior and senior stay in the Bet Knesset. I want to give you shiur. I told the teachers, today, after Mincha, I stay with the kids, with the high school kids. I said to them, what is the most important? And everybody said the SAT. I said, I have questions. So now, closer you are to 1600. I have many students, Baruch Hashem. They got 1600. 1600 the top. And you know who fighting for 1600? Harvard give you free scholarship. Yale University give you free scholarship. So not only you get good college, you get free. You know how much you pay to Harvard? Big money you pay them. So now, I asked him this. Said, I have a question for you. The Mashiach, when he said we sing all way, Ani Ma'amin Be'emunah, the Mashiach is coming. You know, he's in the corner. He's going to open college. This college, he doesn't call it. He call it yeshiva. He's opening yeshiva. My question to you, who will be accepted to the yeshiva of Mashiach? How much you get in SAT? No, some of the students know it's a joke. They're laughing, they're smiling. I tell you, I'm not laughing. I'll give you the formula who is going to be accepted to the Mashiach yeshiva. Remember, you see line 19? You see the paragraph 19? Hakdama Zohar. Introduction to the Zohar. That's a quote from the Zohar. Man min nechon, dehashocha mehapchu linhora, v'ta'min merira limtika. Do you understand this language? Very hard. It's not even in Hebrew, it's Aramaic. Listen to this. Man min nechon, whoever from you that has the ability to change darkness to light and bitterness to sweetness, he is accepted to the yeshiva. You remember where he said darkness? Who created the star of the light? The sun. Who created the darkness?
Hashem.
Who?
Hashem.
So darkness is a star?
No, darkness is absence of light.
Is lack of light. Now, did you ever see, tell me the truth, did you ever see your friend are very, very depressed and not happy? He said, you know what? It's not unhappiness. It's a lack of simcha. It's a lot of happiness. He said, if you have the ability to see the light in the darkness and to change darkness, if you take a lemon and make the lemon lemonade, you are great. You are accepted to the yeshiva of the Mashiach. But wait. He said that it's so easy to make lemon lemonade. But you make lemon lemonade not with sugar. Don't put sugar. You take the lemon and make it, squeeze it. And you know the inner point of the lemon is sweet. And the inner point of the darkness is light. He said, okay, it's very important to go to good college. But that's not the top priority. You know how many crises we're going in the world? Look what's going on in Ukraine. Do you know what happened the last 2 weeks in Israel? Yeah. Yesterday, you know, I saw 3 funerals. 3 funerals. A terrorist came from outside, from Jenin, and he came and killed with cold blood, young people, innocent people. You know, Baruch Hashem, the IDF and the unit, they going in Jenin, and they don't kill innocent Arabs. They're looking for the terrorist. You know what is a tweezer? Tweezer, when you have a tweezer, they're going to pinpoint, not chas v'shalom, to kill somebody innocent. If you have another army, he will go to Jenin and put atomic bomb and destroy entire city of Jenin. The only army in the world, they take risk upon themselves and penetrate Jenin and going with tweezer, you know, house by house to find the terrorist. They don't want only the Arabs. They want the terrorist. That's what we say to change. Baruch Hashem, when he said, Shelo asani goy, Baruch Hashem she'asani, that he make me a Jew, is that, you know, that we are ethical people. We have derech eretz. We don't this. And when you see this, you know that's a light. And the entire universe, America, Russia, China, Korea, all of them know that the IDF is the peak of the moral and ethics. Nobody will have the patience to do what we do. But he said, no, but we have darkness. We see 3 funerals. But nobody will break us because of this. Has v'shalom. We'll see Shiva, we'll mourn for them, but we'll move forward. We'll move forward until the Mashiach will come. My dear friend, this part in English, we read many times, but I must finish with this. I must, because, you know, when I give you Rambam and I give you the Torah, it's nice. But when I give a goy to read this, I hope you remember, we did it, you know, it's Mark Twain in 1899. In 1899, if you see clear, you know, please read with me together. The Egyptian, the Babylonian, the Persian rose, filled the planet with the sound of splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. He said the Babylonian was the power, was America. Egyptian was Russia. He said, you know, they filled the planet with the sound of splendor, big noise. And then what happened to them? What happened to Babylonia and Egypt? Where are they today? Passed away. The Greek, listen, the Greek and the Roman followed. And after Babylonia and Egypt came Greek and Rome, were in control of the Middle East and made a vast noise. And what happened? And they are gone. And they are gone. Other peoples have sprung up and held their torch high. You know, for how long? For a time. You know what is for a time? For a very little time. Short time. You know what happened with their torch? But it burned out. And they sit in twilight now. Listen, all these powers. Today, at the top, as I said, it's America and Russia. Look what happened in Russia. Look how they're declining. The big power in the world. Look what they're doing in Ukraine. Where is the moral? Where is the ethics? Nothing. Zero. Zero. I want to remind you, when Syria in our north, they were killing their own brothers. Their own brother. You know how? With nuclear. With biology weapons. And you know who gave them this? Russia. Under the support of Russia. And you know who saved the sick people, took them to the hospital? Israel.
The Israelis.
Could you believe? I said, what? Are you stupid? I mean, these people could be your enemy tomorrow. Doesn't matter. Genocide, we not go. We are the old people. We had genocide. Begin, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. If you remember, they said the Christianity had fight in Lebanon. The Christianity. Brothers versus brothers. I don't know if you remember it. And you know, America is Christianity, nachon? What America did to stop the bloodshed in Lebanon? Zero.
Nothing.
You know who stopped them? IDF. They said to Begin, what happened? What do you care? It's not you. He said, no. We know what is genocide. We know. I would not see in my own eyes how you destroy a nation. So he said, look, and they sit in a twilight time. You know what is twilight time? It's between light and darkness. Or have vanished. Either they are today. Take the big power of the world. What is Greek today? We have Greece. We have Greeks. But where are they? Very small country. Twilight time. Vanished. Rome. Vanished. Everything is vanished. Everything is gone. History. Now listen to the word of Mark Twain. The Jew saw them all. We've been there. Beat them all. And is now what he always was. You know, he said now Am Israel is the same Am Israel that went out of Egypt. The same thing. Not only this. Wait, listen to this. Exhibiting no decadence. What is no decadence? No infirmities, no weakness. I mean, said we not only this, no infirmity of age. We don't get old. No weakening. We're not weak of his part. No slowing of his energies. The opposite. Where all the energies coming today? From Israel. Hakol comes from Israel. Even the high tech coming today from Israel. No dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. Remember Amma Sefer. The brain, the Jewish brain, is working non-stop. And whoever tried to burn out to consume the Jewish people, he was consumed himself. And the Jewish people continue. Listen, the last one, I want you to please memorize this. It's mamash like Torah shebichtav, from a goy. All things are mortal. You know what is mortal? Another word?
They have a name.
Finite. All things in the world are mortal, but the Jew. All other forces passed, but he remains. So what? Goy, look how we end up the last sentence. What is the secret of his immortality? End of article from 1899 of Mark Twain. So what Mark Twain knows, what he knows that many Jews don't know, the Rasha doesn't know, that we are Netzach. The only thing he doesn't know what is the secret. But if Mark Twain would be with me, I said, you can study a little bit Torah, you will not understand, you cannot go to Pardes. But you will see the covenant between Hashem and Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. You see that Hashem told us that we are Netzach, we are immortality. He said, but he ended up with the fact, Jewish nation is Netzach. You know what is the secret? He just doesn't know the secret of the immortality. And that's what the Rasha, that's why he said, when you see a Rasha, a Jewish person that doesn't understand the secret of the immortality, we have to give him Ahavat Hinam. By giving him Ahavat Hinam, Hashem will give a fire from himself and make him Baal Tshuva. If I make him Baal Tshuva, all of us will be tzaddikim. All the Jewish people will be tzaddikim. And Be'ezrat Hashem, this Friday, I wish you not to be in Panama. You know what I wish you?
To be in Israel.
To be in Israel, Be'ezrat Hashem. And if you don't have a house, buy this. You have 5 days to buy. If not, Esther Azrak has to host all of you. Okay, you can come to my house as well. Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, Rabbi.
So-
I will sing the people, the Hishe'am.